Scary, cute, pink, fluffy things, by their very nature, always like to make sure that anything they do involves a certain element of scariness. So it is with this one. Inaptly named Hercules by his over-optimistic parents, you'd think it would be hard for him to appear scary to anything except the smallest mouse. This scary, cute, pink, fluffy thing, however, liked to scare his guests away with his vast and brutal collection of nature's most revolting plants, carnivorous fly-traps, foul-smelling orchids, and the most pin-cushiony cacti possible, all adorned almost every surface of his home. He was Scaryland's foremost expert on all of Mother Nature's grossest and most repugnant vegetative creations. There was only one scary, cute, pink, fluffy thing who he could never scare away, though, and this annoyed him greatly. It was his old school friend, Henrietta. Henrietta didn't really need any additional scariness, being as she was really quite big and strong for a girl, but nevertheless she still had the scary gene, so she also smoked cigars and bred large and vicious dogs as a matter of routine. Anyone viewing her for the first time would automatically assume she was a lesbian scary. Nothing, however, could be further from the truth, as she had a very particular soft spot for dear, shrimpy Hercules, and stalked him on a regular basis. This annoyed Hercules even more. The indignity of playing cow to a girl's bull made his genitals feel even smaller than they already were. But it seemed no matter what he did or said, she just kept barging into his home and demeaning him. And worse still, he could never tell anyone about this situation, as his reputation couldn't bear the setback of needing assistance to fend off a girl. So it was that Hercules escaped amongst his plants more and more, and planned hunting missions ever further away and for longer and longer stretches of time. Vicious plants became his gold, and any news of a new species being even hinted at made his mouth water and his heart ache. When news reached him of an ancient tribe of scaries deep in the Amazon jungle who worshipped a strange and foul-smelling carnivorous orchid of unknown variety, he was there quicker than a Spanish conquistador. So impatient for success was he that he charged into the jungle with only an interpreter and a scant few equipment carriers to carry all but the most essential of supplies. So impatient for success was he that without hesitation he quickly gave the ancient tribe absolutely anything they wanted for the prized root. So impatient to get the disgusting root home was he that he hid the root in his underpants to avoid the legal requirement of 6 months of quarantine, causing him to be thrown off of 2 planes before finally making it back aboard a very old fishing trawler. Once back he hoped and prayed that the damp and muddy atmosphere inside his underpants had been enough to keep the root alive, and immediately stuffed it in his best and biggest pot. I should be the envy of every botanist in Scaryland, he thought to himself, as he endeavoured to look after the plant like it was his only born son. Never has a plant been more pampered and more cared for, and before long all his skills began to bear fruit, and the orchid began to grow, and grow, and grow, and grow, and grow. Then, one night, while he was asleep, its final shape emerged, 8 long and spindly tendrils flung forth from the entity and slumped themselves to the floor, like a spider waking up in the morning and having a good hearty stretch. Hercules awoke early that morning, as he had been every morning since the new plant's arrival, excited to see the latest inches of growth. This particular morning he was even more flabbergasted than normal, and just stood and stared from the doorway. The 8 new tendrils, or tentacles as he decided to call them, all lay vibrating on the floor beneath him, and with his knowledge of carnivorous plants this made his bowels loosen slightly, as he knew he was on to a scary winner. He decided to eat his breakfast just out of reach of the 8 menacing tentacles. As he sat down with his boiled egg and ham, the tentacles suddenly flew up and stretched out towards him. His bowels loosened once again, and he knew the plant was hungry. He jumped up and screamed, "It's alive! It's alive!" And so the feeding began, and the plant grew, and it grew, and it grew. Before long it was even larger than Henrietta and all her dogs combined. And then it was that Hercules suddenly decided on a change of plan. There was something he wanted from the plant before he showed it to the rest of Scaryland. Something very, very important. First of all, the plant was going to be the perfect way to get rid of that damned Henrietta and her stupid dogs. The plant must eat Henrietta. So it was that he set about brutalizing the innocent plant in readiness for the tragic accident that would soon befall his dear lover. For 2 long months he teased the plant. He starved the plant. He tortured the plant to its very core. He got it so that the mere sight of a lump of meat sent it into the most almighty frenzy of carnivorous lust. Now, he thought, now is time to introduce Henrietta to his new discovery. "Happy birthday, Henrietta!" Hercules exclaimed as Henrietta barged into his house for the umpteenth time. Today Hercules did everything he could to actually be nice to Henrietta. He made her a meal, fussed her dogs, and even agreed to have proper sex with her. Henrietta was completely taken aback, and would have been more suspicious but for her blind love. Though she knew something was amiss, she decided to suspect that Hercules had tried eating one of his odd plants and drugged himself nice. Whatever the reason, she wasn't going to complain, and by the time Hercules said, "I have a very nice plant I want to give you as a present," she was so at ease and happy that she probably would have wrestled a tiger barehanded for him should the need have arisen. And so it was that Hercules instructed her to go and find her presents in the plant room, assuring her that she would be genuinely tickled by the gift. Hercules watched as Henrietta approached the orchid. "Oh my God, Hercules, the place smells like a slaughterhouse. Haven't met such a stink since I shot the elephant in Bulawayo, and we couldn't find it for a week," she exclaimed as she got in reach of the tentacles. "And yet nothing happened," Hercules groaned. She got right up to the plant without incident and poked it lightly with her forefinger. All of a sudden the tentacles went into an almighty frenzy, and Hercules began to smile. The smile was short-lived, however, as the plant made a high-pitched squealing sound, and the tentacles suddenly reverted to defense rather than attack, and wrapped themselves around itself. Hercules' mouth dropped in stunned amazement and disappointment. The true horror began to sink in as a tear dropped from his eye. It appeared even the world's most vicious, carnivorous, and brutal flora was petrified in the presence of Henrietta. To make matters worse, Henrietta even scolded Hercules for mistreating the plant, her knowledge of breeding telling her that all she needed to know about what could have caused such a petrified reaction. To make matters even worse still, Henrietta delighted in her present and endeavoured to move in with Hercules in order to correctly retrain the plant. And to make matters even worse still, the orchid actually grew to love Henrietta. And it was Henrietta who was then able to take all the scary credit and fame as she took the creature on a worldwide exhibition tour. As for Hercules, he kind of retired from life, deciding his scary days were over, he himself gradually turning into just another one of Henrietta's little pet projects.